You're listening to the Visibility, Influence and Impact podcast, episode number 63. Hello, you're listening to the Visibility, Influence and Impact podcast. My name is Jane Mackay, and on this show, we talk to entrepreneurs who are getting fearlessly visible in their business about starting, building and creating the business and life of their dreams while having incredibly honest, in-depth and rich conversations that will inspire you to become fearlessly visible, create influence and generate meaningful impact with your own incredible business. Hello and welcome to the first episode of the rebranded Visibility, Influence and Impact vlog and podcast. I'm your host, Jane Mackay from Jane Mackay Communications, marketing consultant and coach who works with people across the world to build the business of their dreams. Today, I'm talking to my Instagram buddy, Keshena Libbis, who bravely started her business, Social Confetti, in the year that was 2020. Keshena is a social media manager who is all about helping you celebrate your socials and grow. Keshena is a crafty, creative type, coffee lover and content creator who always has beautiful nails. And as someone who spent way too much time on social media anyway, she decided she may as well make it her career and get paid for it. Keshena's favorite thing is to bring the lols by way of offering you up funny memes like a cat who would leave you a dead lizard at the back door. Lizards are my love language. I'm very excited to welcome you to the show, Keshena. I always
Happy to be here.
Yay! Feeding people is my love language. Totally 100% food. So we've been Instagram buddies for a little while now. I know your business journey, but please tell our audience about your journey and how you got to where you are today.
Yeah, well, it all kind of started because of a bit of a sea change. So I was originally from the Gold Coast and my husband was offered a job in Melbourne. And so we decided as a family to make the move. He's actually originally a Melbourne boy anyway, so he has roots here. So, it wasn't as scary because we knew people, obviously. But the kicker to get me over the line to move was that I wouldn't have to work. And I was working full time, doing the juggle, the school runs, and it was pretty hectic. So I was like, yes, actually, I think I'd really enjoy a bit of a, change of pace and a slower, taking things a bit more casual. And so lo and behold, as I suspected, I got bored because I've always worked. And so I've never really been a lady of leisure. So I didn't really know what to do with myself. And so he suggested to me I can't remember, at some point, might have been during the pandemic, while you're not working, why don't you go and study, do something at uni to change careers and do something you really want to do? And I'd never done uni before. I'd gone straight from school into the workforce, and I didn't think that it would be something that I could do because I didn't have the I don't know. I just wasn't sure that I'd get in. But because of my previous work experience, because obviously I've been in the workforce for so long, I was able to get into uni that way, and just did a postgrad cert in communications and sort of focused my subjects and my units around social media and digital marketing. And also did the Digital Picnics social media manager course. Mm-hmm. And it was kind of through that. So I remember talking to Cherie, who was running it, and saying to her, how does someone like myself who's got all this work experience, but not in this industry, get my foot in the door? Because everyone that all the roles that you see, they're asking for, 1 to 3 years experience off the bat.
Entry level, 5+ years experience. It's what?
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
And so I was just how do I get my foot in the door, basically? And I hate the saying, I've always hated the saying, but it is quite true. It's not what you know, it's who you know, because sometimes it's those connections and networking that get you that in, don't get you the job, but get you that in to sort of, get in front of people. And it was sort of through that conversation that they happened to have an opening that they were looking to fill, because they brought their community manager on full time that used to do weekend cover and sick and holiday leave and all that sort of jazz. So and that's kind of your entry level position into social media manager, is doing community management.
Yeah.
And so she was we have this opportunity, and it sort of just spiraled from there. I wasn't looking to start my own business. I thought I'd just go and work for somebody else and, learn all the things. So it was really, really fortunate that happened. And that was sort of my start and my in. And I'm forever grateful to her because it just kind of snowballed from there to where I am now, where, I'm not only have all my own clients as like a freelance, like solopreneur, but I've also just started working in-house for a company, like for a brand doing their marketing. So it's all happening, but it's very exciting.
You touch on something briefly that people forget about social media, that when you're working in it, it never turns off.
No.
It is a 24/7, full-time, full-on, emotionally draining, incredible, like you can make incredible connections, but also if you're thinking about being a social media manager, it's not something you can fluff up to 2 hours a day and go, yeah, I'm sorted.
Yeah, no, it's more involved than that. Like if you really want to see growth and you want to grow the business and grow a community, it does take time, which is why people outsource it, because they're so busy doing their thing, running their business, that, you know, that's something that typically will get outsourced first, because it's just a matter of not having the time to do it.
It's number one on my list, but as one of my clients pointed out to me the other day, Jane, you're a bit of a control freak. And I'm like,
yeah,
I fully admit that. Okay.
Yeah.
But it's definitely a really easy thing to outsource, because the people you're often outsourcing it to have much higher expertise in your social media than you do, because when you're working across multiple accounts, you see patterns, you see more than just you and your own account. And that's such a gift, because the technology changes all the time, the algorithm changes all the time, like hashtags in the comments or the, you know, caption. If you outsource social, you don't have to think about any of that anymore. You just go, here's my ideas, here's what I want to talk about, make it so. And it's just, it's a beautiful thing. So if you're thinking about
if you find the right fit and someone that captures like your tone of voice and stuff like that, I think that's what a lot of people feel like, you know, it's going to be obvious that it's not me. But if you get someone that's good at what they do, then they can capture like how you would normally sort of put your stuff together anyway.
And that's what a good marketer does. They just like we're little chameleons that go between businesses. And probably the only sign that you've hired a social media manager is you're finally consistent on your social.
Yeah, exactly. Like clockwork. Yeah.
Clockwork, the tone's the same, the imagery is the same, and you're turning up. So I love it. It's number one on my list. Anyway, walk the walk. Don't just talk the talk. So obviously your business has evolved since you started. So what were those signs that it was time to change and grow in your own business?
It all just, like, it wasn't intentional, to be fair. It's just sort of happened organically. And I think another part of it was I did Suze Chadwick's The Brand Builders Academy.
Yeah.
And it was kind of through that I realized I don't really want to be just a community manager. I want to move more into the social media management. So I scaled that right back. Like, it was a little bit scary because I let go of clients to go all in and focus on that and like the content side of things. And like I decided that I was going to take one day off a week to work in and on my business. So like, which was another, so just making those little steps and sort of being a bit more sort of conscious about where I wanted to go, but still it's sort of just happening naturally as well. I've never really actively gone out looking for clients. Like, I've been fortunate enough that either through word of mouth or they've liked my socials and contacted me. Like, I haven't ever really sold myself on social media. So, I mean, that's been really good, but it's a little hectic, but, I enjoy it. So, I like the creative side of it because I am that sort of person, but yeah.
It's funny, isn't it? Because we don't consciously often change things in our business. Like I've never been one to sit down and write a business plan. It's just not who I am. But I understand that there are parts of my business that I love, and then there are parts that I don't love. And for me, it's like, okay, I'll just concentrate on that and let go of that a bit. But it is a bit of a step into the wilderness sometimes when you're in that messy middle, in that transition period. And for some of us, it's letting go of like the major proportion of our income as well. And that can get really scary for people. But you've got to have faith. You got to back yourself.
Yeah. I also feel like I'm cheating a little bit because obviously, my husband is the main breadwinner. So my job isn't necessarily putting the roof over our head and the food on the table. So I don't have that pressure to like be supporting myself through it. So I guess I have been able to be a bit more sort of hands off about that side of it. But it's still like done better than I could have imagined, like being, that it hasn't been around for very long, but it's still, I'm lucky that I have that, I guess. Yeah. And also when you just said something, you remind me of a quote that I used to put, I think it's on my website even, when you said the messy middle, because there's like a Brené Brown quote that's like, the messy is middle, but it's also where the magic happens, or something like that.
Yeah. Love a bit of Brené wisdom.
Yeah.
She's amazing. But it is a constant sort of, I don't know, I have a mindset, I'm constantly pushing myself, and then I feel really stressed. And then my husband's like, dude, what are you doing? Because it's literally only you. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just me doing this to myself. And I think there's you can get caught up in that. I
can relate to that
entrepreneurial thing where you're like, I've got to grow. And he's like, well, you're earning good money. So like, what's the stress, man? I'm like, yeah.
I just feel like it's that world where there's not comparisonitis, but you know what I mean? Like you sort of hold yourself against other people and feel like, oh, I should be like striving for that. But I've always said, I don't want to be an agency. I don't want people underneath me. I'm quite happy just doing my own thing, working for myself, having that flexibility. That's why I've sort of recently said to my husband, because he's like, why aren't you like working all the time? Because when you do work for yourself, like the 9 to 5, like it's out the window. It doesn't exist.
It's gone.
So I'm doing stuff at night or on the weekend or whatever. And it's like, well, it's because I take, an hour and a half to go and get my nails done. So I'm like, well, that's fine. I can do that because I'll just do X, Y, and Z like later in the afternoon. Do you know what I mean? Like I've got that flexibility.
Well, I like just going, well, not the last 2 years, we haven't been able to do it, but when we could go and see the kids' assembly on a Friday morning and then catch up with my mum and, just cruise around and not have that pressure of I have to be in the office at this time. But often when you're transitioning out of like full-time work into freelancing, one of the things I did have to be really disciplined about, which I don't need to now because I'm like 13 years down the track, was get to the office at this time, sit there and do, this much work, and then you can go and faff around for a bit. Whereas now I don't need that time accountability. But I think when you're starting, that's a really good habit to get into.
Yeah, for sure. No, I mean, I sort of base my day around like, what have I got to get done today? Yeah. And what's on my calendar, so I can go, oh, okay, like I might be at, like if my girlfriend says, hey, do you want to go grab a coffee after like school drop off or before we pick the kids up? I'll be like, sort of mentally go, yeah, I can fit that in. Like I'll make that work, and stuff like that. So sort of I hold myself accountable. I make sure that whatever needs to get done gets done. But, I also like to have that little bit of flexibility if something pops up. Like, it's important to have that work-life balance.
It's what makes it fun too. Like that's the whole point of working for yourself, is you can go, I can just go Skype off if I want to. But I find that when I let myself Skype off, I still don't Skype off. But I love what I do.
Guilty.
So,
yeah, exactly.
No, I don't know. I don't feel guilty anymore, but I'm like, oh, I could be getting this because time pressure, like always so busy. Yeah. Anyway, so you mentioned, and we mentioned off air, we're both school holidays, a couple of days in.
Yeah.
How do you manage your life then as an entrepreneur with family pressures and the whole actually trying to live your life at the same time?
Yeah, it's there's pros and cons to it. Obviously school holidays I'm around, so I don't have to put them in vacation care like I used to, but there's probably also a little too much screen time to occupy them when mummy's working. A little bit. So there's that like guilty mum situation going on, but I always try and like make sure that I've got like at least a couple of hours in the day to go and do something to entertain them, or like, if I can knock stuff out earlier and leave myself more time to spend some quality time together, I will. I think the thing that, not so much school holidays, but about having the kids and working for yourself, when I was working full time, and there was a period sort of that last year before we moved here where I swear my kids took turns to get sick. And because my husband worked in Brisbane, he was like an hour away. So it was always on me to leave work or to take the day off because he'd already left early in the morning. And the stress and anxiety that used to give me, and I felt so bad. And my employer wasn't that great about it. Like they brought it up in my performance. I was like, what do you want me to do? They're my kids. They're sick. Like it's down to me. Like, I'm sorry.
There is no other alternative.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, so that was, and I used to feel so bad about it that I'd cry sometimes, like when I see that the school was calling me at work again, and I'd be like, oh my God, like, do you know what I mean? So not having that is such a massive weight off my shoulders.
It's funny because my kids both have a chronic condition, and my daughter's had a quarter of the last term off.
Wow.
And if I had a real job where I had to leave the house, the amount of stress that will cause me is unfathomable. And it's always, I'm the default because I am at home.
Yeah.
And my husband has site visits and stuff where he has to go off and do things.
Yeah.
Whereas she can sit out there and I can make her lunch and she can come in for cuddles and I can give her a pain medicine and that sort of thing. But if I had to leave the house and go to a conventional job, I literally could not do it.
Yeah.
And it just is so stressful. And especially in the last couple of years where with a little sniffle, you can't send them to school. And kids, let's face it, kids get sick all the damn time. Because they're exposed to germs and they're gross, grotty little gremlins.
Yeah, agree.
So, and it's hard. Even running my own business, I still feel a bit guilty about it. Like if clients call me and I can't answer, but so what does a great day in the office look like for you?
Like a productive one where I feel like I'm on a roll and I'm in flow and I'm just like smashing stuff out. No interruptions. Obviously, that's not when they're around. Like just like when I'm sort of just it's a good day and I'm like everything's going my way. And typically, it's usually the tech that like stuffs me up because my computer, I only got it like December, not last year, the year before. So it's only a little over a year old. And it's supposed to be like a good laptop for business. And it's so slow. And it drives me up the wall because every time I click to tell it to do something, it just takes so long. And I'm like, this is really messing with my productivity. Like I could be so much quicker. So I'm like, I'm going to have to get a new laptop. Just things like that. Yeah. Like the opposite of a good day is like really grinds my gears. But when it's working nicely, which is, it's very temperamental and, that's a good day.
That's a good day when your tech works.
Yeah.
I've got a PC that I primarily work on. But it's like, because I do design, like the laptop to do full Adobe suite. I'm like, I can't even go
maybe
there.
I used to have the Adobe Creative Suite and then I switched to Canva because it's for what I do. It's so easy and there's so much to choose from. Yeah. So I got rid of that because it was about to go up again and I was like, I don't think so.
Don't get anyone who is in design started on the pricing of Adobe.
Yeah, it's a bit insane. And so now you're like, oh, maybe I need a desktop. Maybe that's what my
I still use a lot of Canva, but I do print for clients. So I have to have
like
Adobe. But I've got a laptop
and any designer worth their salt they would like exercise you from the community if you didn't have the Adobe Creative Suite.
You are not permitted to call yourself a designer anymore.
You cannot. Yeah, exactly. It's like a prerequisite.
And I don't have a Mac, so I'm probably already exercised from the community.
True. I don't have a Mac either. I don't know because I obviously grew up using like Microsoft Windows and all of that stuff, and I have an Android phone as well. I used to have Apple back in the day, and I'm a Samsung girl now, and I've been thinking about, do I go back to Apple? Because I think it does certain things on like Instagram that the Android doesn't for some reason. Like I found that.
But it will eventually. I think the Mac thing is like an old school designer thing. Like when I came out, so when I did my master's 16 years ago, say, maybe even longer, like everyone used Macs in design. And that's what we did in agencies and stuff. But now it's all changed. I've got an Android. I've got a Google Pixel phone
so does my husband. I just find it more user friendly. Like you can just drag and drop stuff off and on your phone.
I love it. Anyway.
Yeah. We're not going to convert people because if you're Apple, you are hardcore Apple and you hate Android.
Yeah, so. It's part of your identity to be an Apple person.
It really is.
So this is the first new question for the new pod. What does being visible in your business mean to you?
It's having the courage to show up in your space and put your face out there. So I will always advise clients that you need to be showing up on your social. So that's your face in the feed, that's on stories. I know it's really scary doing face to camera stuff, but that's, as you would know, that's what builds the know, like, trust. And that's why people want to buy from you, they want to know you, they want to, you know, so it's really important as a brand. And obviously not a big conglomerate, not a massive brand, but like smaller businesses,
personal brands,
to be, you know, showing up and being the face of the brand and doing, like, bringing people in, like, behind the scenes. People love to see, you know, what goes on in your day and stuff like that, and sharing all that kind of authentic small biz life.
Small business, hashtag small biz life.
Yes.
And it's so important because people don't generally just buy your thing. They actually buy who you are, and they want to be in your space, in your orbit, in your energy. And that's why I flipped everything to focus on visibility and influence and impact. So how do you show up fully as yourself in your business? Because I know your socials, but other people
won't miss. Yeah. I think it's fairly obvious when you go onto my page that it's very much me. I haven't made it like a really businessy account. Like, you know, it's almost more of a personal brand than it is like a business brand. So I kind of set out with, how do I differentiate myself from every other social media manager on socials who's sharing all the social tips? Like, everyone's doing that. I'm just like throwing my, you know what I mean? Like, it's so I decided to like create like shared branded memes, you know, that are funny and relatable, that make people laugh. So it, you know, it'll stop people in their scroll because they look forward to them because it makes them smile or whatever, you know. And that sprinkled in with like my nail pics, which people are like, how does that relate to the business? It doesn't, but it's just me. It's what I love, you know. It's very much about the glitter and the confetti.
Yeah, I'm under a lot of pressure from my 11-year-old to get nails like yours at the moment. FYI.
Just do it. You only live once. Or are you not a glitter? I mean, I love, they're very cute,
Barbie
but
pink.
it's safe. I'm all about like, give me all of the extra, give me the bling bling, give me the nails. Yeah. But that's just, and obviously the pink hair, which I've only just done that because I was like, isn't it too much pink? Because I wear a lot of pink in my wardrobe. And then I was like, maybe the hair's just that little bit too much. I don't know.
I love the pink. I have not got the hair to go pink with, but I'm like, I could really go colored hair, but then I'm like, oh, I don't think I could commit to a color.
Yeah, no, well, that's why you don't have to commit to anything. You can change it.
My hair is fairy floss. Anyway, I've given up.
It won't survive.
It just goes in ponytail, and that's it. So one of the things that affects almost every entrepreneur I know is imposter syndrome. We sort of touched on this earlier when you were talking about, I didn't think I was going to get into uni. Yeah. So what are your methods to overcome and respond to the bad days in business?
I'm still learning, because I think, yes, we definitely all
never
do.
Stops. Yeah.
And the imposter syndrome for me was, I haven't worked for a company. I've only worked for myself. So am I doing things right? And I could only gauge by like, you know, the analytics and the feedback from clients and stuff. Okay, you know, I think I'm doing all right. But it's just that constant like, because comparing yourself to others and like, am I good enough? And all of that sort of stuff, which it's a learning curve. Like some days are better than others. Some days I'm doubting myself going, am I doing a good job? But it's just that sort of inner knowing and belief that no, I'm good at, like, because I always had it in my previous like work life. I was always confident in my abilities, and I would say I'm good at what I do. Yeah. But I haven't quite got there yet for this role because it is so new still. I feel like when I have more experience under my belt, I will be like, yeah, no, I'm really good. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think I'm okay. But like you said, it's that. Okay. Yeah. I think it's because I haven't necessarily had that validation of working for a company and being trained, you know, by people that have done it much longer than me, that I feel like maybe I would feel like I know my stuff more doing it that way rather than just doing it by myself. I don't know.
And it's funny, isn't it? Because I think it's the way we feel about qualifications and experience, and we never quite feel experienced enough.
Yeah. And
yet the outcomes that we get for our clients demonstrate our abilities, but because we are not in that formal performance review structure, I guess, we don't have that, you're doing a great job and you've done this, and also that time of reflection that you often go into when you're in that performance structure in corporate. You know, what are your achievements? What have you done? What could you do better? And instead we're like, okay, next job. And I think reflection is a really important part of overcoming imposter syndrome and realizing the outcomes we get for our clients. But often in our jobs, they're sort of, well, they're not sort of, but you can look at analytics and stuff, but they're hard to quantify. You know, you can't say I did this project and brought in, you know, $8 million in profit that quarter, because we're part of a bigger picture. So we don't get access to performance data of that sort of really quantifiable. We can see that the performance from a social point of view, but not necessarily how it translates into business all the time.
Yeah, exactly. You can't like trace it back to like that sale was because of that post that do you know what I mean? Like there's no way of knowing that.
Yeah.
You hope that that's what it's doing, but you just, Yeah,
and you get the feedback from the clients going, yeah, sales are going really well, but it's hard for us to go and put a figure on it. And I think that's that disconnect's really hard part of working for yourself, because you're part of a cog in a big machine, but you don't get those outcomes. Anyway, it's a strange thing to think about. How do you use the influence of being yourself in your business, your personality, and how you show up? How does that influence the elements of your business that you show up in?
I think it's how I've built like the community that I have so far is by being myself, and it's made, you know, I've built a lot of relationships and connections like with yourself just through coming across as me on my socials, and you know, very much your vibe attracts your tribe, and like whoever, like I'm not for everyone, that's fine. Like if you vibe with me, that's great. If you don't, that's fine. I know that I'm not for everybody, but you know, just sort of being true to myself and my sense of humor and just sort of being authentic and all of that sort of stuff, like that's not going to change.
Being funny. It's one of the most powerful social media strategies. I don't know, humor always works.
I mean, I think I'm funny, but
I find you funny.
That's good. I mean, I can't take credit for all of the funny memes. Like that's just, you should see my screenshot folder on my phone. Like if I see a funny meme, I'm like screenshotting that and like tucking that away for future reference.
It's going in my stories, mate. Whenever I'm not feeling inspired, I'm just like downloaded images. So what does having an impact mean to you?
To me, impact would be if I can help people in any way. Like I'm all about trying to, like if I've got friends that are, say, you know, wanting to start something, and like, because I've got a girlfriend who's, you know, sort of launching her candle business again. She took a bit of a break. She's doing it. And we had a Zoom session and I've given her, and I'm happy to do stuff like that because I genuinely want to see people succeed. So, you know, I mean, I know I shouldn't say this like, oh, I'll give you free advice, but no, but I am very approachable. And like, if it's something quick and easy that I can help people with, then I'm happy to do something that's going to help move them forward in a positive direction, that's going to see them grow and have success and stuff like that. I just want everyone to do well, basically.
Yeah. You sound like me. I'm like, yeah, sure, pick my brain. Don't expect me to build a website at a party, but talk strategy for a bit.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are your top tips for all the people getting fearlessly visible in their businesses?
Okay. Have courage. You know, I know it's scary, but have courage to just show up, you know, like baby steps. You don't have to. And I've said to people, you know, like it can be, you know, point of view, like you making your morning coffee, but like you're showing up, you know, stuff like that, you know, take it small. Same with reels. I know people hate them and I was very reluctant at first, but the engagement and the reach that it gets compared to like static posts is insane. So embrace that. Even if you're like a product-based business, do like a pack and order with me or, you know, stuff like that. So it's just, once you start taking those steps that seem really like uncomfortable to begin with, the more you start doing it, the easier it'll get. And you will notice growth from that. Like if you're consistently starting to like show up and put yourself out there and share more about you and the business, I think that's always like a winning formula.
100%. Visibility, influence, impact. You can't do any of these things without taking the action, because the action gives you the feedback. Yeah.
And to me, like, I don't understand why more businesses don't utilize stories to have that direct line of communication with their customers. Like, if you want to know their opinion on something or their thoughts or their feedback, put a stories up, do a question box, do a poll, like, and that's great for engagement on the other side of it, but you're getting that direct, like if you need to know, you think I'm thinking option A or option B, like what should I do? Ask your customers, like don't be afraid to reach out and put that stuff, and it doesn't live on the feed, it's on stories, it's there and then it's gone, but it's great, valuable feedback.
It's stories are great and completely underutilized.
Yeah. And I don't think people realize that not everyone even bothers to go to the feed. They start and end their day in stories. They don't even make it to there. So if you're not showing up on there, you're missing out on a massive chunk of your audience.
I've got to do reels. I've got to do stories.
It's always like when it's you, I'm sure when you give advice to your clients, you would say the same sort of things, but it's harder to take your own advice. I'm great at telling other people, but I'm not always great at putting my own stuff into action. But
I'm shocking. If I did what I do for my clients in my own business, business would look different. But I'm too busy helping clients. But
if we all treated our own businesses as a client, could you imagine?
We'd be so successful.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's hilarious. On a reflection. Yes. How can people find out more about you and your business, Keshena?
Instagram is definitely my jam. You shouldn't have favorites, but I totally do. It is Instagram. That's where I spend most of my time. So I'm at Social Confetti Co. I also have a website, but it's a bit neglected. I don't go on there very often, but that's, www.socialconfettico.com. But yeah, I'm not school holidays. Anyway.
Yeah. It's all right. Mine they're not killing each other at the moment because I can't hear the screaming.
Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. But if you want to chat to me, send me a DM. I mean, my email is on the website, and I obviously will respond to that too, but like I'm much easier if you just like shoot me a DM. I'm always on there. It's pretty sad.
That's where Keshena and I communicate, is in the DMs on our Instagram, because that's also my favorite place to hang out because it's just got the vibe.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for chatting with me today, Keshena.
No problem. So fun.
Thanks for listening to the Visibility, Influence and Impact podcast. If you'd like access to the show notes, please visit my website, jmackaycommunications.com.au/blog. If you've enjoyed this episode and would like to hear more, please subscribe. Until next time, keep getting fearlessly visible, create your influence and generate an exponential impact on your world.